Shabbat Shalom. That was far more robust than I thought was going to happen the day after yesterday. So I'm glad that all of you are here. It is nice to be together. We were greeted so wonderfully by Ashley Latham, our board member here representing us tonight. So thank you for greeting. I want to thank Joyce Liu. That was really an elongated intro, and it was so nice to sit and just listen to the music. So thank you, Joyce. And everyone who is live streaming and could not get out of jammies tonight, I get you, I feel you, I wish I was you. So it is nice to have all of you here. As well, we are going to begin on page 10 with the singing of Hine Matov. So we are going to turn now to page 2. I know that Betsy and Lenny Englander can't be here tonight, but it is their anniversary, so I will light on their behalf, and they are doing okay. I just know they couldn't be here tonight, so I want to make sure that we still honor them with this honor. So page 2 will be the candle blessing, followed by page 5 for Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehat likner shel Shabbat. אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו בשבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר לסיעת מצרים כי באנו בחרת יתנו קידשת לקרוא העמים בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנהלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת אמן. לחיים.
Join together now on page 20 with the singing of Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה Lecha Dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה
Verse 1.
שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד השמיענו אליך מיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה Lecha Dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה Lecha Dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה
Verse 2.
לקראת שבת לכו ונאהב כי היא מקור הברכה מראש מקדם לסוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תהילה Lecha Dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה Lecha Dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה
Verse 9, please rise.
בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה טוב אמוני הסגולה בואי חלה שלום מלאכי
Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה Lecha Dodi לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה
may be seated. So I'm going to ask you to look at the first Hebrew letter, or really even the transliterated letter, at each verse of Lecha Dodi. I know I've taught this before, but maybe we have some new people in the congregation that haven't heard this. And don't look at the bottom for any spoilers. So how many of you, when you were growing up, grade school or whatever you called it, had to do an acrostic poem with your name, and the A was awesome, the M was miraculous, the Y with your first name? Just the three of us, right? Okay, no, I know more people did. Just the awesome people, Bonet. So Payatan, people who wrote liturgy, also did a lot of this. And many different liturgy was attributed to King David, right? The entire book of Psalms, for the most part, was attributed to King David, and yet we're pretty clear he did not write those. And Payatan were human beings, too, who sometimes had egos as well, and who wanted some credit for their liturgy. So if you look at the first letter of each of the different verses, you'll see it begins with a shin for shamor. So make the sh sound. You don't have to make it out loud for me. Then the lamed in verse 2, l. Then the mem in verse 3. So that, and then the hey in verse 4. So if your name was Shlomo, that is how you would spell it. Then you go to verse 5. And if you keep doing this, you have the hey, the lamed, the vav, the yud, the bet, which will continue to spell out Shlomi Halevi Alkabetz, which is the Payatan who wrote Lecha Dodi. And so he gave his name, he ascribed it to himself, and gave his name in the beginning of this. It wasn't seen as sneaky or as disrespectful. He just wanted some props. And so he did that, and now we all know who wrote this. Lecha Dodi was added much later into our service because the liturgy of Kabbalat Shabbat, which is what we now call Friday night, is really just the very beginning of services. It starts with a few psalms, and it ends with Lecha Dodi, and that section alone is called Kabbalat Shabbat. And if you've been to Sfat or Safed in Israel, have any of you been there? They have the beautiful candle factory. That is where Kabbalistic Judaism is founded. Kabbalat Shabbat, made by the Kabbalists, was added to our normal Ma'ariv evening service to add freilich, to add joy. And so the beginning part of our service are the Psalms and Lecha Dodi, and they're done in majors, some of them, and they're done more brightly because it was to add some joy because Shabbat has finally arrived. And so this is a part of the canon of text that Alkabetz participated in, was the Kabbalat Shabbat. So that is, I think, super interesting, and that's all I care about. Just kidding. So now we are going to move on into Baruch Hu, which actually is the next section of our service. The way you can tell that is on page 26, we're given the Chetzi Kaddish, which is a chapter turner, essentially. It's telling you we're now moving to the next section of services. We went from Lecha Dodi now to an evening Ma'ariv service. So I'm going to invite you to rise if you're able as we turn to page 28 for our call to worship the Baruch Hu. You may be seated. We turn now to page 31 for an English reading on the bottom of the page with Roll into Dark, I think, as a part of that, right? Yes. We read it? Okay, please join me. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim.
Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, and day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, and day turns to night. Oreyon balayla, oreyon b'pnei choshech, oreyon b'pnei choshech, v'choshech b'pnei or. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, and day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, and day turns to night.
I invite you now to take a very deep breath and let it out. We have had a lot of holidays and a lot of music written by us but not for us, and a lot of decorations all over, and lots of joy and celebration, and some of it's ours and all of it's humanity's. And yet, as we transition into the rest of the year, which is not called the winter holidays, we have to make sure that we add light into each and every single day, independent of if it's a holiday or not. We have passed the darkest day of the year, correct? Winter solstice. And we now go into, as we creep towards the summer, that's how I always see it, that camp is the longest days of the year. So we are now going towards camp. That's how I see it. As we move towards longer and longer days of light, we have to remind ourselves that at the very beginning, we've got to be that light, because the sun will still set early. We'll still see those beautiful sunsets, but we are still very much what brings light into our lives, into each other's lives. So as we move into the prayers Shema and Ve'ahavta, remind yourself what we spoke about last week, that sometimes we have to be the Chanukiah, we have to be the light, because sometimes it does get pretty dark. So I invite you to please rise if you are able. We'll begin with the Shema on pages 34 and 35, and then transition directly into the Ve'ahavta.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod, Malchuto, Leolam, Leolam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha Veshinantam levanecha v'dibarta ba'am בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם emet.
You may be seated. When I was growing up, and I wonder how many of you also had this experience learning the Ve'ahavta, we never added the Adonai Elohechem emet. Did anyone else not have that growing up? So what I learned, really not until rabbinical school, was that if we were to say the final line, go back to page 36, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Ani means I, Adonai is God, and Elohechem is your God. So I am your God. So if all of us would have just ended the prayer saying, I am your God, then what's the challenge there? Are you my God? No, we're human beings. And so we added on to it, Adonai Elohechem emet. God is our God in truth. Because the last sentence, if we were to end that prayer on I am your God, it would be us speaking on behalf of God, and we're not. And so the additional line was added as to God is our God in truth, so that it's not ending with us falsely saying that we are God. To be very honest, and that's this week's Torah portion about being very honest, I don't think that this is something Reform Judaism added. My thought is that it probably was part of the larger canonized Shema Uvrotecha, Shema and her blessings, and that this sentence was moving people into emet, the next prayer, before Michamocha. And so I think it was always there. We just didn't say it as Reform Jews. But I do think it's an interesting reason why we've added it back in, because we don't want anyone to think that we're claiming that we are God. And so if you look on page 38, the very first word of that prayer is emet. Adonai Elohechem emet. And so in traditional Judaism, you would then go into that prayer. It would be probably silent, but we are sort of giving a nod to it by saying it in the last sentence. And then as we move through to that, we would get to Michamocha. So on page 40, we have the singing of Michamocha. And I want to talk very quickly about a little teeny dot, which in Hebrew we call a dagesh. So look at the very first line in Hebrew. Whether you read Hebrew or not, that's totally okay. The jumbo mem, the big blue, what does she call it? A mouse house, right? Right, in Hebrew. So it says me, and then there's a mem and a yud, and then a dash on top, and then it says chamocha. There is no polka dot in any of those letters, correct? In the middle? Okay. Go down right below it, and it says me. You have the same letter, and then same word, and then what do you have next? Kamocha. So why, if we're looking at the exact same words, does one have a dagesh in the middle? Does one have a dot in the middle is pronounced k and not ch? Does anyone know why? So there is a dikduk reason. There is a grammatical reason. But that doesn't sit well with the rabbis who want to teach midrash, who want to teach stories at all times. So we've all heard of this story, whether I've said it 700 times or anyone else has done it, is that Nachshon walks into the water, right? And as the water keeps coming up towards Nachshon's mouth, he keeps saying, I have faith in God. Mi chamocha bo elim Adonai. Who is like you, God? And finally, on Nachshon's last step into the water, while Moses is over there praying, he's doing, the water covers his mouth and he can no longer get the ch sound out. And it goes to k. So this is how we learn that one is mi chamocha and one goes to mi kamocha. I agree, it's dikduk. It is a grammatical thing that if I could explain what that even means, I don't know that I would, but I love the midrash here. Sometimes we can say with a full heart, who is like you, God? Nobody is. And sometimes it gets a little tougher to ask that question. Sometimes there's some stuff in the way, and in this midrash, it really is the water that is overcoming us. So in this next prayer, the first sentence of the song is Mi chamocha. But then as the song goes on, don't forget to change it, because we do say Mi kamocha. Page 40. Well played, Joyce.
Maybe we should start doing ka-ka-ka.
Page 42. Our prayer for shelter, our prayer for God's arms to really envelop us in this Sukkot Shalom Hashkivenu reminds us that we are here not only to be guarded by God, but to guard and to guide one another. Page 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. V'hamidenu shoreinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukkot shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukkot shlomecha. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning light. Teach us, God, wrong from right.
We turn now to page 46. I invite you to please rise if you are able as we join in the words of the Amidah.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufiya yitahilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Gadol Hagibor Vahanora El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim Vekonei Hakol Vezocher Chastei Avot Ve'imahot Umevi Geula Livnei Venehem Leman Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen Baruch Ata Adonai Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah Ata Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mekayeh HaKol Ata Rav Lehoshia Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem Mekakel Chayim Bechesed Mekayeh HaKol Berakamim Rabim Somech Noflim Verofech Olim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Michamocha Ba'al Gevurot Umidam Melach Melech Memit Umechayeh Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman atah l'chayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai Mekayeh ha'akol Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh U'kadoshim b'ho yom yochalu ha'sela Baruch atah Adonai ha'el ha'kadosh.
You may be seated. Top of page 53. I invite you to join with me in this English reading. Days pass and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like lightning, illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see wherever we gaze that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh. Blessed is the Eternal One, the Holy God. Amen. We continue now with our moments of gratitude. And so I invite you to turn to page 57. And if you have anything that you're grateful for, I ask that you share it out loud so that we can maybe find it contagious and recognize that we missed it also. Yes, Nancy.
Thankful I got an email this week that choir is back on, and thank you, Joyce.
So Nancy said she's grateful that she got an email this week that choir is back on. So she said, thank you, Joyce. And we're looking forward to that. Yes, Nicole. That's huge. Nicole's daughter's a professor who just got a new contract. That is excellent. It's excellent. Yes, Arlie. That's incredible. So Arlie shared, Arlie had a house fire and lost their home. And that two congregants, thank you, both of you, for stepping up, and many others who also have stepped up to make sure that you are not only not homeless, but that you feel cared for and loved for. And we're just so glad that you're here with us and that you did not get hurt. Yeah, Jed. Grateful for Lily. I'm grateful for Lily. Oh, Ash is grateful for her daughter. That is very nice, Jed. That is very sweet. Good. Who's turning 25? Hannah. Wow. So Gideon is grateful not only for choir, but that his sister is turning 25 very soon. Little sister. Pretty adult for a little sister. Awesome. Anyone else? So I got to spend this week with my best friend, my camp roommate, who is also the cantor of our B'nai Mitzvah class. And we got to just have a lot of fun. I don't know the last time I spent Christmas with all Jewish people, and it was a very different experience. And so we had a great time, and I'm grateful that so many people were working on the day after Christmas, because Ezra and I were supposed to get home this morning by 8 a.m. so that I'd have no problem getting to the Bima. And after a canceled flight, 2 standbys where we were above the number 40, and then a 2.5-hour delay, we landed at 4:30 this afternoon. So excuse my gym shoes, Grandma Morrison, but that is about all I could put together, except for being grateful to be with all of you. So we mark all of these moments as holy, and we turn, again, we're on page 57 to the bottom of the page. For those said out loud and also in our hearts, we include God and elevate them as prayers in this Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai, she'odcha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. Amen. We continue now with our prayer for peace, Shalom Rav, which can be found on page 60.
Shalom, Shalom Rav al Yisrael, Ahamcha ta'asim, ta'asim le'olam. Shalom, Shalom Rav al Yisrael, ta'asim le'olam. Ki ata hu melech adon, lecho hashalom, lecho hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon, lecho hashalom. Shalom, Shalom Rav al Yisrael, Amcha ta'asim, ta'asim le'olam. Shalom, Shalom Rav al Yisrael, ta'asim, ta'asim le'olam. V'tov be'enecha levarech, levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך.
Shalom Rav.
Shalom, Shalom Rav al Yisrael, Amcha ta'asim, ta'asim le'olam. Shalom, Shalom Rav al Yisrael, Amcha ta'asim, ta'asim le'olam.
Our thoughts now turn to those who are in our lives in this room or in this world who are in need of healing, physical healing, spiritual healing, emotional healing. And so we think of the following individuals, and then I'll ask you for the names of those who you're thinking of either out loud or in your heart before we turn to our prayer for healing. This week we think of Cindy Dahl, Sarah Gastman, Terry Gilner, Ed Herman, Ellis Maldonado, Elliot Scher, Michael Buchholz, Jordana Fuller, James Oliff, Stan Silverberg, Jesse Turden, Marcia Turkin, and Matthew Sternberg Yee. If you have any names you'd like to add to this list, I ask that you do so as my hand passes where you are seated. And for all those names said out loud and in our hearts, we turn to the inside back cover of our prayer books for the words of Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov. Misha Berach Imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, veRachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, 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 and bless us as well. Bless us with the vision of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Misha Berach Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov. Misha Berach Imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, veRachel. Bless us with a vision for tomorrow. Help us to reach out to those in pain. May the warmth of friendship ease our sorrow. Give us courage, give us faith, show us the way. Misha Berach Avotenu, Misha Berach Imotenu. Hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayers, hear our prayer, hear our prayers. Bless us as well. Hear our prayers, hear our prayers, hear our prayers, hear our prayers, and bless us as well.
We continue now by closing our prayer books and taking a few moments of silent meditation. We'll join back together again in a few moments on page 62 with the singing of Yehiyu Leratzon. This week's Torah portion is Vayigash, and I spoke about it this morning, but I wanted to share something that I read. I mentioned a few weeks ago someone who I follow on Instagram that does a pretty incredible job with the Torah portions. The quote that I want to pull out for this week, hold on, has to do with when we stop pretending and we realize it's time to just be honest with ourselves, with everyone else, and with God. And I was thinking about where we are in the Torah portion and where we are within the book of Torah as Joseph is really meeting his brothers seriously, panim al panim, face to face, and not being as truthful as he could be. We talked about last week at Torah study a lot of really interesting reasons as to what we would do in that circumstance, or why was he either testing them, or was he seeing if they had changed? Was he taking time for himself to kind of ground himself before making his next move? But I was thinking that we take it a little bit further of just Joseph and we think about ourselves. When we are confronted with a question where the answer could either be truth or something other than that, how do we decide to show up? So for a lot of us, that's something that has to do with our maturity as we grow older, and maybe as younger kids, that is a much more difficult thing to show up with truth. Or for some people, especially kids, showing up with truth as younger people is actually much easier, right? Think about that show, I get it's a little faux pas now, but Kids Say the Darndest Things with Bill Cosby, right? That really kids say a lot of things that maybe adults wouldn't say. But even last week when we were talking about the maturity and how we watch him grow up within this last Torah portion, I think about what it must feel like to stand in front of people who you utterly lost faith in, and to own who you are. Do they even deserve to know who you are? Do they deserve to have the food that they've come to Egypt to get? Are they even mature enough themselves to be able to understand that even within this Torah portion, Joseph says, don't worry, guys, it's not your fault. God did this. God had a plan the whole time. Sometimes I look at this Torah portion and I think it is so unbelievably aspirational for how we're supposed to show up in every instance. Not only did nobody else have anything, I have complete autonomy, I have complete accountability, and in that accountability, I know that I'm here because God brought me here. That's a lot to take on. Think about this last week, this last month. Think about an instance in your life where it would have been a whole lot easier to not face your truth. Frankly, you could think about this afternoon even, if you don't have to go that far back in time. When we are faced with these examples in our life, and they come up all the time, what is the defining moment between choosing truth and choosing anything other than that? What is your defining moment? What comes across your mind at that point? For some people, it's integrity. I'm always going to tell the truth, right? Got an email this morning. Truth is the way to go. Truth is the best policy. And yet, sometimes there is lying by omission. Has anyone ever been accused of that or possibly done that? No. Good. Sometimes, and I'll tell you, oftentimes, when somebody like myself is somewhat of a people pleaser or doesn't want to hurt other people, it gets very tough to decide, do I want to say the truth or do I want to not say anything at all? I learned a few years back that there's a difference between being brutally honest and being honest. What's the difference between those two? Considering someone's feelings. You can be extremely honest and yet not be hurtful, right? And yet the honesty could be the same in both those instances. But I do want to sit there for a second. There is a big difference, I think, and I think Judaism says the same thing, between being brutally honest and being honest. And neither one has anything to do with keeping the truth from being spoken or acknowledged. When we are asked a question, how was your day? How was your day, guys? Good, fine, meh, whatever. So I'm going to tell you, I got asked that 100 times today in the airport. How was your day? Thank you for coming on board. Everything going well? Merry Christmas, da-da-da-da-da. At not one point during that day did I give anybody, and this is on me, the consideration that they actually wanted to hear the answer of what I had to say. Shame on me. Because you know what? When someone asks something, we need to recognize that we don't always know someone else's intention. Right? We don't always know. I can look at some of you and say, if you asked me how my day was, you genuinely care how my day was. So who am I to take a stranger and discard their intention, their integrity? Let's think about Joseph in this moment. He's standing in front of his brothers. They did not ask, how is your day going, right? They said, we are starving. We have no food. We need our brother Benjamin back. But what does Joseph do? What does Joseph do? Joseph says, it's me. It's Joseph. Nobody asked him, who are you? Nobody said, gosh, you look familiar. Nobody said, what was your day like today? He just owned his truth because he was ready to own his truth. And in that truth, what comes next is really unbelievable. What? I didn't hear you. One more time, Ted? Is my father alive? It's the next sentence. Yeah. Does he cry? So what's so interesting here is the trope is actually very interesting in Torah. There's a crown above it, and some say that that crown are the tears dropping down. Right? Trope is, as Torah is like the font. Trope is the singing of it, but the handwriting, the font of it, there's also crowns and different things. Either way, that it's supposed to maybe be the tears coming down. I can only imagine in owning your truth that you have kept to yourself that entire time, there is some catharsis, there is some relief, right? But I can imagine there's also some sadness. He asks, is my father alive? He doesn't say, so how are you guys doing? What are you guys doing here? He goes to the big question. Imagine if we were to come into every single instance we have just owning who we are. That is terrifying, I think. Is that terrifying for anyone else? That to me just sounded terrifying. And yet I have a feeling some of you guys do that. And that may be the difference between being me at 47 and some of you not being either my age or being me. But I know there's been many times in my life where I have not owned who I am to every single person I come into. And I actually think there's some safety in putting up some boundaries, right? Boundaries can be healthy. But I'm also wondering at what point don't those boundaries serve us anymore? And showing up just authentically yourself, when does that serve us more? When is that our actual truth? There's that beautiful story, and I talk about it all the time in different instances, where when you die and you go and meet God, this is a story, I don't know that this is what happens, that God won't say, Amy, why weren't you more like Rebecca Barancic? Why weren't you more like Ashley Latham? God's going to say, Amy, why weren't you more like Amy? I made you to be you. Why were you trying to be like this one or like that one? Why were you trying to find things aligned with this one's interested in or that one? I made you uniquely you. Some of you know one of my favorite Jewish quotes is, on the day that you were born, God decided that the world could no longer exist without you in it. That's not because you're like someone else, right? That's because you're you. So it's almost a disservice to God creating us, Selim Elohim, in God's image by being anything other than truly authentic. So is it scary? Yeah, sometimes. Does it make us very vulnerable? Absolutely. But is it how possibly we can go into this world with integrity and honesty that is so much deeper than answering, fine, I had a good day? This week I want you to try this. You have two options. Option A, genuinely ask someone how they are. Like genuinely ask. They don't have to answer the way you want, but genuinely have intention of wondering how they are. That's option A. Option B is anyone who asks you how you are. Genuinely answer them. It's going to be off-putting, I think, to most people. Right? The bagger at Publix, of which I was all throughout college, is not necessarily going to be ready for your answer. Just like a great scholar might not be ready for your answer, but that doesn't mean that someone's not asking how you are and you're going to answer genuinely. Next week, I want to see where we're at. I want to hear how anyone's experience is. Email me this week. I don't even care if you don't say it publicly. What is the honest experience of being who you are out in the world? For some of us, it's very anxiety-provoking to interact with other human beings. I have mentioned to a few of you, not many, that I am an extremely shy person. And very often I am met with people laughing. Oh, you stand in front of people for a living, you talk, you can work a room, and I'm an extremely shy person. Amy Morrison is an introvert. And this, for me, is much more comfortable than us having a conversation at an ONEG table, of which you'll notice I seldom can sit down because I get so uncomfortable. I'm being very honest and vulnerable with you right now. That does not mean that I have less to offer or that you have less to offer. It means sometimes it takes some of us a little bit more to show up in our honesty. So give someone that space by asking a genuine question. Give someone that time when you don't usually see them out and then all of a sudden they're out and sitting at your table. Take some consideration that some of us, I think probably all of us in some way or another, have to get through what we've built up to keep us safe so we can show up the way that God made us. Because we spend a lot of years trying to grow up, a lot of years. And if some of us are incredible, by the time we pass away, maybe we've matured some. Bonet, you and I'm not sure, are there yet. But the fact is I think maturity has to do with owning who we are, much more than it has to do with being serious or always knowing the right thing to say. So pick one of those two options this week. Because Joseph picked to be honest. He then got to reunite with his father. He got to save his brothers. He got to save the entire area that was in famine. He no longer was in slavery within himself or within the pit that his brothers threw him into because he was who he was. He let himself be who he is. Imagine the freedom we can feel if we're just honest with who we are, and then we let everyone else deal with what that looks like. Not because we're brutally honest, but because our honesty, when thinking about how it affects others, still can be authentic and full of integrity. So I pray that this Shabbat and going into this secular new year, we have an opportunity to just show up. And if it's not good enough for someone else, that's okay. It's okay. We're not living for anybody else. We're living for ourselves. So let us find where that is, find some comfort in that anxiety, find some clarity in that fogginess, and let us recognize just how blessed we are to be alive. Shabbat Shalom.
So since this is the final Shabbat of 2025, and next week we'll have the first Shabbat of 2026, I wanted to offer Next Year by Benj Pasek and Shana Taub. When the walls have grown narrow, when the world has turned gray, when the headlines are harrowing day after day, as you wonder and wonder how long you'll stay lost, remember the oceans and deserts we've already crossed. 'Cause next year, the doors will break open. Next year, we'll breathe in the sky. Though tomorrow's uncertain, we're gonna get by till it's here. So here's to next year. Here's to next year. When the people are pleading, 'cause the days seem so stark, when there's nobody leading you out of the dark, can't let the misery harden first will pass over, and one day the waters will part. 'Cause next year, the world will break open. Next year, we'll breathe in the sky. Though tomorrow's uncertain, we're gonna get by till it's here. So here's to next year, next year. Here's to next year. Here's to next year. Here's to next year. As you wander and wonder how long you'll stay lost, remember the oceans and deserts we've already crossed.
Beautiful. I invite everyone to please rise now, if you're able, as we join in Aleinu L'Shabeach on page 282.
Aleinu leshabeach la'adon hakol, la'tet gedula le'yotzer breshit, shalos sanu keyoye haratzot, ve'lo samanu kemishpachot hadama, shalos sam kalkenu kahem, ve'goralenu kechol hamonam, Va'anaknu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lamelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu Adonai echad, Ushamo, Ushamo, Ushamo echad.
You may be seated. Page 291. Yesh chochavim she'ara margia artza, רק כאשר הם עצמם עבדו ואינם. יש אנשים שזיר זכרם מאיר כאשר הם עצמם אינם עוד בתוכנו. There are stars up above so far away that we only see their light long, long after the light itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways that we remember. As we think of those in our lives who are no longer with us physically, we think of the light that they add to who we are. And we include in those memories the following individuals. We think of Ruth Herman and Rabbi Gary Klein. And we add to this list those whose yortzites fall at this time. Harry Orodlin, Clarence Axelrod, Beatrice Bernstein Daniels, Elka Cohen, Helen D., Arnold Fogel, Robert Foldauer, Benjamin Green, Helen Green, Karsten Herman, Lawrence Israel, Alan Kirschbaum, Abraham Nobler, Jewel Lanham, Maurice Lerner, Cy Levy, Lou Lipa, Miriam Lowe, Hans Mahler, Sonia Halixer Miller, Edna Mogul, Ruth Evelyn Morachinek, Celia Palumbo, Barney Perlman, David Perlman, Annette L. Raymond, Dr. Jacob L. Rudd, Irving Schechter, Marcy J. Schrum, Regina Schwartz, Molly Siegel, Lou Ellen Gerard Seidenberg, Rose Shaneberg, Abraham Shapiro, Terry Simmons, Barbara Skulka, Benjamin Wang, Ella Weinberg, and Sheldon Weikel. If I mispronounce your loved one's name, I'm sorry. I'll ask you to say it again as well as any additional names of those you're thinking of at this time.
Lou Kubler.
With all those names said out loud and in our hearts, we rise as one congregation to comfort the mourners with the words of Mourner's Kaddish on page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, bi'alma divrach cherutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevarach Le'olam Olmeo Maya, Yitzbarach V'yishtabach V'yitzpoar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal, Shmei Dekudesha Brechu, Le'elam Min Kol Birchata V'shirata, Tushbechata V'nechemata, Da'amiran Be'alma V'imru. Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabbah Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisroel V'imru. Amen. Oseh Shalom B'mromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisroel V'imru. Amen. Zichronam Livracha, may their memories forever be a blessing and a lesson for how we can live our lives. And let us say, Amen. You may be seated. I invite up Ashley Latham, and maybe Jed can come with so you can help me with Motzi. And Lily, if I can volunteer you, that would be great. Ashley's representing our Board of Trustees. You can follow along in our Shabbat Spotlight.
Shabbat Shalom. I am Ashley Latham. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees, and I want to thank Rabbi and Joyce. It was beautiful, beautiful. We have a Torah study brunch, but it's not until January 10th of next year. It's at 10 a.m. to 11:30, and there's also a mitzvah minyan. They're donating clothes to children, and that's Saturday, January 17th. And there's a nifty over 50 karaoke at La La Latka's. That's Thursday, January 22nd. And we had a blast over there doing La La Latka's. So if you want to get into it, we also have the art festival coming up January 31st, February 1st and 2nd, and they are still needing lots and lots of volunteers for that. So thank you, everyone. Shabbat Shalom.
So if you can please rise, we are going to join in Motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat Shalom. Eveinu Shalom Alechem. Eveinu Shalom Alechem. Eveinu Shalom Alechem. Eveinu Shalom, Shalom,
Shalom Alechem, Eveinu Shalom Alechem, Eveinu Shalom Alechem, Eveinu Shalom Alechem, Eveinu Shalom, Shalom, Shalom Alechem. Shabbat Shalom, Happy New Year. Be safe. Please introduce yourselves to each other. There are a few newer people here that would love to meet you.